Hello again, and welcome back to The Works. It's Jim.
I'm Diane.
And we're going to talk about social media today. And also wanted to, look back at, we had some comments from the last couple of chats. We talked about the food pyramid recently, and you had mentioned Courtney had a comment.
Right. She had said that the previous food pyramid, the reason why grains were so prevalent is there was a grain surplus back in time.
Yeah, we were pointing out that we all got it wrong originally in the 70s, or at least the first food pyramid that we all kind of came to love to hate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, grains on the bottom, bread, and then very little of meat and protein on top, or fats, saturated fats.
Right.
That was the top of the bad stuff.
What did she say the new one should include? Is probably going to include
Ozempic as the base of the pyramid.
Yummy.
But no, that was a good observation. And of course, the Savannah Guthrie mom situation with her mom still continues. We're hoping for a good outcome. Today, there was a release of some footage, which we talked about this before, and I wasn't sure how I would feel. Remember, there was the story that their Ring, or in this case, it turned out to be a Nest camera, doorbell camera, that they were initially, the family was upset because mom didn't keep her subscription or didn't pay for it or whatever, right? And Google was brought in, who owns Nest, and they indeed got out of the cloud video of that person. So I go back to my little rant or pet peeve that somebody's always watching regardless of what. Hell, in this case, you're not paying for it.
Right.
Now I'm not saying, again, that's completely invaluable in this case, but how often does that happen?
Right.
And then the question becomes is how much are these companies like Google and whomever are supposed to have on hand? And hell, we've got ADT, and half the time I wish it recorded more than it. Well, that part of it is you got to set up the triggers and all those kinds of things. But yeah, that was that came true, is the fact that even though they supposedly don't have, and there's still a lot of information that hasn't really come forth, but supposedly didn't have the subscription, so that was a disappointment. There would be no way to get any of that information, the recorded information, but surprisingly enough, it was out there.
Yeah.
And we did find out that they never did pay the ransom by the deadline.
But
So-
we were glued to some live feeds last night. I mean,
That's the social media. That's kind of
Mhm.
maybe why I think, oh, good. That's probably why. It was on my mind today is the whole idea of, I mean, we found ourselves watching YouTube feeds of a camera that was set up, and that's it. It was just a live, and occasionally somebody would walk up to it who looked like the type that would walk up to a random camera out in the middle of nowhere and start talking to it.
And there were a couple people that had that exact same feed. So you're watching a live feed of somebody watching a live feed.
But yeah, the reason I bring it up, is that through the advent of this thing called the internet, and the power of our cell phones now, we have the ability to create celebrity almost anywhere. I mean, that's the whole concept of viral, right? Is that something that somebody? That's a problem now with AI, because I get burnt on all these. I start watching videos that think, oh shit, that's not real.
Right.
The ones that lately have been driving me nuts is these whole, and again, it's funny how they'll pick a topic that I seemingly am interested in, like 70s, 80s sitcoms, and then all of a sudden you see character A, who from that day doesn't look exactly right, but it's kind of close. All of a sudden,
they're
either
walking.
old dead
Yeah.
person version of them comes walking in the scene, so you see them then and now, and then it
It's
basically
awful. Yeah.
oh, it's horrible. Yeah, of course, and what they and how they denote the dead ones is they all have gold wings.
Right. Oh, so annoying.
Well, but then what made them think that we're all going to heaven? I mean,
right.
not everyone's going to heaven,
Right.
especially Hollywood people.
Right. But it just goes to show you, that with today's digital photography, you can't trust, not conspiracy theory, but you can't trust photos. I mean, even people's regular photos on their phone, they have filters or they can erase something. So you're truly not capturing a moment in time. You are creating content. Everything is creating content as opposed to capturing things.
Well, and that's part of, I guess, where I scratch my head is there are internet celebrities. I guess you can call them that, right? Or are they, YouTube celebrities, TikTok celebrities? And we got our favorites on YouTube. We watch that. I don't know how we found them, but they're entertaining for the moment. It's like, I guess it's like anything else. It's going to be entertaining for a season or an episode, a couple seasons maybe, and then we'll move on to something else. But how do we even find them? I know everything's based on this algorithm concept, right? But I guess my point is it's consuming of entertainment things.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone from what was just the outlet of cable TV or broadcast TV,
mm-hmm.
right? And we've opened it up to social media. So it's not just the professionals that are doing it, right? When we grew up, Gen
mm-hmm.
X, it was all professional, and then all of a sudden, I guess you attribute to all the all the millennials.
Millennials, yeah.
Right. That
But you have to keep in mind
are the media creators.
Right. But it is social media, and unfortunately, people now are getting their news from social media. Their things that they think are facts. I mean, it truly is not a slice of who we are. It is putting forth, telling a story. And I'm going to get on my soapbox. It's social media. I mean, it makes people feel bad about themselves because they see somebody else's life. They think it's perfect. And even if we go out to dinner, we even see middle-aged people on their phones looking at social media while they're at dinner. Why can't you enjoy the people that you're around?
Well, so
teens can't handle it. Grown-ups can't handle it. It's just
so that's there used to be a way the Nielsen company that would come up with ratings, right? That would how many people watched the Super Bowl? How many people watched Friends the night before, and
mm-hmm.
that was for the networks to gauge why, who's watching.
Right.
We don't have to do it. The beauty now is that at any given moment, whatever you're streaming can certainly be identified by your internet service provider, right?
Mm-hmm.
What it is that's hogging the bandwidth. But and even recently, again, I hate to be the one that not like. Yes, we did get rid of our landline more than 10 years ago, I think. Maybe it wasn't more than 10 years ago.
Mm-mm.
Maybe it's 5. That sounds old. Sounds like one of those Geico commercials. Don't be like your parents. Isn't that it? The Geico?
Yeah.
Yeah. And those are cute. But I guess my point here is that the consuming of other things that are in entertainment, hell, we just got rid of cable not too long ago to go streaming. That is not to pay for the service of cable, to get rid of it completely, but use the same damn cable for our internet, right? Because that required, surprisingly, it required a whole other box to decode that signal to provide you a cable version of the same signal now that is basically streamed, right? So you have these streaming devices. In our case, it's Zumo. I think Roku's famous, Fire TV. There's a whole bunch of them out there. But basically, they're taking what is certainly part of the broadcast world. But at the same time, there are all these apps, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's services like Peacock. I mean, and that was another one. So there was this big blow up of all these different extra. It was, NBC Plus or HBO Plus
Mm-hmm.
or Cinemax Plus, and then you were paying another freaking $5 for each one of these. Just why? To be able to get things, when you wanted to watch them. The whole idea of everything is streaming, right? Because I hate to say, with the old cable box that we paid for, and again, they certainly made this advantageous to get rid of because it's, like I said, it's now cheaper to stream, but I'm consuming way more data than I ever did because just to turn the TV on, that's consuming data,
Mm-hmm.
right? Anyway, what's my point? My point is that so you had the blow up of all these different services that also were commanding the dollars. How many services do we have? Because, you'd find one cool show on iTunes. I mean, hell, how many services do we have? And I'm asking, not facetiously, but
We're paying for Apple. At least Peacock comes with our cable streaming.
Well, but they've changed this notion. See,
And
we used to pay
AMC.
for it to not get commercials.
Right.
And so, and Spectrum, God love them, they've worked out a deal. And well, hell, isn't Spectrum really NBC or Comcast? They're the same thing. I don't know.
It's hard to keep track.
But yeah, so there are certain things, but it's their clever way of baiting you into buying Peacock Plus because you still have to sit through a commercial, right?
Yeah.
Like the debate of the other day, do we go ahead and get Wicked, buy it, because we know it's going to be on all the services. But if you watch it somewhere else, you're going to have to pay for commercials unless you're paying for the extra version. So you might as well just buy it.
Right.
But then that's a problem because I can't stand the Amazon Prime interface. For every movie that we've ever bought, I swear to God, we've bought more than once.
Right, because we can't
Find the damn thing. Because the UIs on these interfaces, that could be a whole lot. But so back to the social media thing.
You had some interesting statistics about that.
Yeah, I guess you want me to stop ranting about the other crap. So no, so social media. Again, my point here is like what you and I are doing right now. Like we always were taught in my radio days, you got to remember who's your audience, who you're talking to. So I tried to do I did. Let's look at, first of all, who's on social media and what are they doing, right? So again, as I mentioned, what are the big apps? YouTube, Facebook, WhatsApp, TikTok, Pinterest. And of that, what are they consuming on those platforms? And so about 20% are doing podcasts in general, which is great. But what I thought was, so go back to some of these numbers. So Facebook has been downloaded 5 billion times.
5 billion with
times.
a B.
Yes. But that stands to reason with the fact that they claim they've got 3 billion active Facebook users. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm not trying to hit you with numbers, but so who's the audience here? So let's start to ferret this down a bit. Well, 3 billion's a lot. The world population is what?
I don't know.
Let's put it this way. Of all the countries that you know of, China has 1 billion, right? Let's say the whole population of the world's like 4 or 5. Because what we've determined is about 80% of those that are of human standing up, have a phone, are probably on Facebook.
Right.
80% of the population.
Well, you also have to think of duplicates too, because I have Facebook on my phone and on my tablet. So that's 2 for me.
Well, see, you're the weird one because only 98% of all Facebook users use a phone. Only 1.5% of Facebook users use it on a laptop or computer. See, and that's why you and I keep fighting this thing. We like the computer.
Yeah.
I like doing things I like a keyboard. I like a mouse.
Right, and we got old eyes.
I mean,
Well,
phones are huge, but that's not my point. It's just, there are only, if it's not a button to push.
Yeah. Well, I got that old lady. I scroll too slow, and it decides I'm selecting something instead of scrolling.
Well, you can change that.
I know. It annoys me.
Okay. Well, anyway, so back to, like in my case, I keep wondering who might be interested in our bullshit. And so, again, look at it from a platform perspective. So where are people consuming? Like, I love Spotify. Spotify is great. And I hate to say until recently, haven't really started. Podcasts are always one of those things that, yes, there are a lot. Hell, Joe Rogan's famous. Why? Podcast.
Mhm.
Now, he of course had his show, and he's going to come back. What? He's doing that Fear Factor crap again.
Right.
Eating goofy shit. But it's one of those things that I guess I look at it this way, like with our hot sauce business. We wanted to take something that we like to do, which is bullshit, with computers, technology, and make content out of it. Like in hot sauce, you made different kinds of hot sauce.
Because
I
I like hot sauce.
I like the industry from the marketing, technical side of things. I was basically the back office. Did a lot of videos, did the labels, things like that.
Tracked all the data.
But yeah, but it's because what you can do from home. And it doesn't take a lot of an investment
to start a podcast.
And start a podcast. But again, it needs to be, I think it needs to be, interesting or entertaining at the least. That's why, again, if you look at podcasts, what are the big ones? All about murder shows.
Murder.
Of course,
Conspiracies.
Self-help. Self-help's a big one.
Right. Well, and I think the reason why we hadn't got into listening to a lot of podcasts is that we don't have a morning commute. I think if we were back in the days we're hopping in our car and commuting for a half hour, 45 minutes, then yeah, I'd be listening to podcasts.
But I guess it goes back to like books on tape or audio books on tape. God, audiobooks. The idea of as just background noise. The problem that is it's a habit. The habit here is to have the Weather Channel on, just because it's background noise.
Right.
Not that you're watching it, but it's the least offensive of the group. I mean, you can't leave Fox or CNN on because that'll irritate you. God knows you can't have MSNBC on because that's even worse. But why not turn to podcasts or music? And again, that's why I like Spotify. Spotify, I'm a big fan of.
So, do you consider a podcast social media, or do you consider social media just other types of content dribble out there?
Well, I think it's the platform. It's the delivery mechanism. No, because let's face it.
Because I wouldn't equate TikTok and Facebook, that type of social media, the same as podcasts. I guess I want to be more highbrow. I want to.
Well, the beauty of TikTok is that whole ADHD mentality of nothing's bigger than 40 seconds.
I don't
know. And you can buy. But my point is, it's the mindless. Let's watch the next video. Let's watch the next video. Or again, explain to me because I'm not on Facebook. Explain to me how and why. Why do you use it?
I like it to, for our hot sauce business.
I can tell you the top 5 reasons. No, I'm not talking business. No, that's a whole other.
It used to be you could find out what childhood friends, high school friends, college friends,
sure,
what everybody's up to. But now it's about entertainment. Mine's all food and chickens and cooking. Because those are the things that I'm interested in. I don't like anything politics.
And why do you think that is? That's because Facebook realized that they're going to have to monetize themselves, right? This goes back to what I've said from the very beginning is, sure, it's great, but Facebook's free, but it sure ain't free for Facebook to keep all that information in the cloud.
Right. Well, and I don't understand why everybody gets so hung up on how many likes or views, and especially when it comes to a business. Likes and views don't mean anything. However, you still need to have a social media presence to advertise your business. So it gives you more chops, more of a presence. But again, you know, you're there to sell a product, not to be a content creator, but you still have to be a content creator in order to have a presence to sell products. It just, and I can't imagine being a non business on Facebook and getting hung up on views and likes. I just, it baffles me.
Well, I think what we've personally observed is Facebook, the social media aspect of Facebook or TikTok or Instagram is, if you're going to be somewhere and you have a following, it brings people to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you build things. And as we've been told, you have to do it regardless of, you start and you get 1, you get 2, you get 10.
Right.
And then finally,
for a business, it makes sense.
And finally, right. But back to my question to you. So you have Facebook because it's the friends and family thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also changed as that's gone to more, let's look for something interesting, funny, and or.
Right. Now I joined certain groups, whether it's hot sauce enthusiasts, backyard chickens. Yeah. So it has progressed.
But so again, don't you think though, in a way, it's podcast like because, I'm sure there are podcasts specifically devoted to hot sauce stuff.
Yeah.
Well, no, you haven't looked. So back to
I haven't looked.
So right, back to the dilemma here. I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, but we need to ourselves consume more of that type of media. Yet
Yeah.
we've consumed all of the others.
Right.
Right. And
do some due diligence.
But back to the whole idea of, okay, so Facebook has this huge presence, or at least again it claims to, and these numbers, it's hard to, I guess, argue with them because they at least align with the world population, I guess. So my point, 3 billion active users in a month, and but to your point, there could be a lot of bots, even though they've claimed that they've killed that. I guess my frustration with it is I can't actually get an account. I don't know why. I've tried. And the worst part is, and like maybe the frustration that others have had, if you get kicked off or booted off the platform, there's really no person to talk to.
Right.
There's literally no opportunity other than you get that damn email. Like in my case, I can't be verified. I don't know why.
Right. Well, I just had memories remind me that my post on some bagels was flagged as inappropriate.
Right.
I don't know what they thought the bagels were,
right.
but
and that goes in your permanent record, like we've all learned in high school. That was a bad thing, right? So your permanent record in this world, in the social media world, eventually can come back and get you booted off.
Right.
And there's no appeal. Yes, they say you could, but again, there's no human that you can talk to.
Right.
Or even converse with, even email, text.
They're all knowing, all seeing.
But it's not like they've got 60,000 employees at Facebook. What the hell are they all doing? Obviously not answering the phone.
No.
Is there actually even a phone number? I don't think there is.
I don't know.
But yeah, so what's interesting, so again, so pure numbers. 3 billion users of Facebook. And again, this is just my observation. China doesn't report anything, right? And of course, it's communist. They don't let any of I don't know how much YouTube and Facebook that's going on in China, but China has 1 billion people. So I don't know if in those numbers, there can't be any China population. Can't be. So, which is a huge amount. Anyway, so of that, which country do you think is number one for Facebook?
The U.S.
No, it's India.
Really?
Well, yeah, but they got way more people.
Okay, yeah.
But what's interesting is they have way more people and overall more users, but still only 50% of the population that use it, which is more than in our country. 85% of those that have technology have a Facebook account.
Yeah.
85% out of our 280 million population.
But it's interesting. In our family, I'm the only one that has a Facebook account. Neither of our children do. Well, adult children. You don't.
Well, we don't want to get doxxed.
Yeah. But
Another topic.
The other problem that I have with social media is that you can go down these rabbit holes. It'll keep pushing you, depending what you're interested in. And a weird topic, let's say, not to offend anybody, the flat earthers, but you can surround yourself with all people that only believe in flat earth. And if nobody ever contradicts you because you're only surrounded with those people, you think everybody thinks
but
that.
That's the beauty of it.
That's the beauty of it, but that does a lot of harm, because then you're not exposed to contrary opinions.
But nobody wants
discovery.
That. Yeah. But that's the thing. Nobody wants that.
Why?
Right? Well, I mean, where else are we getting
I would hate to not know something. I like to hear differing opinions, because either I'm missing information or you're missing information.
Well, but we
both can't be right. So I'm always on a quest to understand.
But you can't trust anymore,
right?
What you get out there, just because, unfortunately, how can you turn this AI thing off of your phone and your computer? Ugh. Because no matter where you search now, the first thing that pops up is the AI overview. I don't care.
Yeah, I can read an article from a known, vetted location and get information. The AI overview skims it from everywhere, and I don't know what credible resource you're using. It drives me crazy. I can read.
The other thing that I thought was interesting. So again, if you look at the 3 billion users, I mean, the U.S. has the biggest percentage of its population that are indeed Facebook users. But again, we're not the biggest audience out there. Well, like I said, India. But I do think that Facebook, I'm sure things are regional, right? I mean, unless if I'm not mistaken, you log into, I don't know, the extension of EU for European version of something, you're not going to necessarily see it. So it's interesting. Again, we've in this free society that we have and the open internet, we're still
partitioned.
Yeah, we're governed off because of, well, let's face it, it's like every time I use her phone, for some reason, the map, I go to Google Maps all the time. I don't necessarily I use the app, but then she doesn't have location turned on. And so half the time she ends up giving me directions to some place that we realize, oh my God,
it's a different state.
That's Charlotte, Florida that we're driving to. It doesn't look familiar. Jesus God, turn that on.
I'm a handful.
But no, and I guess one of the last, what I thought was interesting because again, I was demoralized as thinking that I don't use Facebook. Yes, the YouTube's fun, but none of the other ones are.
Yeah, what are your favorite social platforms?
It's YouTube, but that's not even.
No, the general public, our listeners.
Oh, yeah. What do they? Yeah, that would be great.
What's your favorite?
You're asking me. You don't give a shit about me.
Do you consider podcasts social media? Maybe I'll put that.
That's a good question.
I'll put that in the poll.
But what I think, and maybe this is a trick, but of the demographics, again, I hate to say, we've both reached that over 55.
Mm-hmm.
The box that there's always that box of, are you 18? Are you under 18, 18 to 24, 24 to 34, 35 to 44?
56 to death, yeah.
Well, now it's 50. There is an intermediate. There's 65 and over.
Right.
It's always been 65. But we're on death's parking lot.
No.
or off ramp, if you will. But of Facebook users, who do you think spends the most time? Now, the most of those groups, hands down, I'm sure it's not going to be a surprise, 25, 34-year-olds are the biggest amount of users of Facebook, right? As a matter of fact, the depressing part is 55 and older is only 25% of the base. 75% of Facebook users are younger than 54,
Wow.
right? That's depressing.
Yeah.
But, of course, this of the 55 and older that use it, we spend the most time on it.
Oh.
That's because we're slow.
Yeah.
And you have your finger getting stuck on things. No, that's just not. But I thought that was maybe a positive. You know, maybe we can appeal to those that want to listen to this go on for. But you know, and you know what's interesting though is the under 24.
Mhm.
They aren't. I would have thought maybe they were, but I know there are a lot of
Well,
things that are limiting that now. You take the phones away from kids and school, and so
well, Delaney's 22.
well, she does. She don't like Facebook. You know,
Yeah.
so
No social media. Anywho.
yeah. So well, no, it's a good conversation, and so back to that, I think we want to again thank you all. It's a great question. Do you consider podcast social media, or what is your favorite? Going to talk about things like well, we mentioned the hot sauce thing. We're still going to start that series on having a home business that happens to be a hot sauce business. Talking about cursive in school. They are finally bringing that back because you ask somebody to sign something, or a poor daughter. We had a pallet of glass bottles delivered recently, and the delivery person hands her the manifest and asks her to sign it. Oh, the panic that falls in these kids' eyes when somebody asks somebody to sign something, and then of course it's printed. Their signatures are printed letters. Both of our kids
been practicing.
I am not,
and
I'm
she
not making
does that
fun,
now,
I'm
but
not
yeah.
making fun, but both of their driver's license it looks like a 3-year-old's driver's license. It's not a bad. No, I'm
I
not
know.
saying that in a negative way.
I know.
But we all grew up on that. So yeah, we're going to talk about cursive, and I think coding would be a nice thing to talk about.
Mhm.
The whole logic idea of that. So we again appreciate the chance to share some time with you. And until next time, this is Jim,
I'm Diane.
and you're listening to The Work.